Sound test, testing, ba 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 ba. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing good. I hope you're all having a good week so far. At the very least, I hope your week is going better than mine, because mine has been, in a word, expensive. I got my wisdom teeth out, which was not a cheap procedure, and I paid the final payment for my college tuition, but on top of everything, the first of the month was last week, and as we all know, paying the first of the month is a real gunshot to the savings account. It feels like the more I get older, the more things I realize just exist to take money from you. And I'm doing okay financially, YouTube pays me enough, but I don't take any sponsorships, and my Patreon is still modestly sized, so I'm not swimming in luxury, but I'm making it work. I bring this all up because the thing that I want to talk about with you guys today deals with a luxury purchase. It's about spending money, arguably too much. It's not spending it on something practical, but rather something with the sole intention of being flashy. And because I don't know any better, it's also going to get political. Yeah, today we're looking at the story of the socialist live streamer Hasan Piker and his recent purchase of a $200,000 car and the resulting discourse his fans launched into because of it. And look, here's a fair disclaimer. I'm aware that whenever you talk about large streamers, you run the risk of them or other streamers watching your content on their stream. And any critique I make of these streamers is going to be broadcasted to their entire fan base who are already on their side. And also, not to go spoiler mode, but there are going to be parts of this video where I do critique Hasan. And as someone who has watched his content in the past, I'm aware that he responds to criticism rather aggressively, right? That is why I am implementing a streamer failsafe. At 3 points during this video, randomly with no warning, I am going to play copyrighted music out loud. And I'm talking some real basic shit, like Katy Perry levels. No streamer can afford that copyright strike. And yeah, my channel will probably get nuked too, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. I'll take us all down if I have to. I'm crazy. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me here today. My head got cold, so I'm putting a beanie on. Why does your head get cold and nothing else get? That is so irrelevant. Alright, for those of you who might not understand why a celebrity buying a fancy car is newsworthy, I get it. Rich celebrities buy cars all the time. This shouldn't be that big of a story. But if you know a little bit more about who Hasan is and his background, you might see why this story carries a little bit of extra weight to it. Hasan Piker is one of the most successful streamers on Twitch, where he's known for his reactions, some gaming, and most often his left-wing political takes and commentary. He has a past career of journalism and working for news sources like the HuffPost and the Young Turks, but has recently cemented himself on Twitch to combat right-wing commentators and reach a younger but more responsive demographic. Because leftism and socialist ideas deal with a lot of equal rights and helping marginalized people, Republicans like to spread the idea of socialists being sensitive and small and unable to conduct themselves or man up. Hasan is a direct violation of that image. He is a massive dude who expresses his passion in aggressive bursts. He doesn't handhold his audience and will frequently ban people from his chat if they annoy him. And this unabashed confidence really sells his appeal. Hasan's YouTube banner is literally a quilt of angry comments trying to throw his own rhetoric back at him after he asked for someone to make him a banner. Instead of responding, he stitched their complaints into what he wanted, which shows he's not afraid of negative responses and also shows his sense of humor and indulging in other people's raging. Hasan stands out in the leftist online space because of his unique energy and character that he brings to these discussions. His fans describe him as a Chad, and yeah, I see it. And he is often celebrated as one of the strongest voices in regards to online socialism. I personally don't find myself on Twitch very often unless it's to support one of my friends' streams. I'm a YouTube guy, so sue me. Or shoot me. But I do watch many of the YouTube videos he posts from those streams, mostly because he covers such a wide range of topics and I want to stay informed on current events. And I don't know how newspapers work. Who do you contact to get a newspaper? Is there a company? A guy? I help. I don't agree with Hasan on 100% of the takes he has, but that's not really a standard that I think we should hold content creators to. I watch Hasan's coverage to stay informed, and more often than not, I do find myself agreeing with the points he makes, and I appreciate the commentary he brings. Oh god, I guess because this video is about politics, I should clarify my stance just so you know the lens I'm approaching this with. So here we go, politics time. Truthfully, I do not know exactly what I am or what category I fall into, but it's left. My left-leaning parents raised me to believe that Democrats who advocated for gay marriage and equal rights were the good guys, and the Republicans who just wanted to give big corporations tax cuts and give us more guns were the bad guys. So as a kid, I'd always call myself a Democrat. But as I grew up, I started to realize that the two-party binary system is really just a cover-up to shield the rich politicians from enforcing agendas that really just serve their own schemes. I mean, most of them are just upper-class white old people, and if you can't re-elect them or raise their stock prices, they won't really care if you live or die. So I don't like the Republicans, I don't like the Democrats, and I think that food should be free. So I guess that puts me near the range of socialism, but I'm not sure about the specifics. But that means that Hasan's progressive stances usually ring true with me, and I find myself often on his side when it comes to commentating on political news. So, Hasan is a socialist who advocates for equal rights, equal pay, and aligns himself with the side that wants everyone to get supported, not just the rich. Which takes us to his house. Believe me, I am not thrilled to be bringing this up again. This is a very, very tiring discussion. It rots my brain. So let's get into it. Hasan's popularity on Twitch is not to be understated. He has 1.8 million followers and is one of the top earners on the platform. For the first few years of his streaming career, Hasan lived in a small-sized place with his mom, which gave people the idea that he was a grassroots creator. Then, in 2021, Hasan bought a $2.7 million house in LA, which seemed to catch everyone off guard since his previous setup and aggression towards the upper class seemed to contradict with just dropping nearly $3 million on a place of his own. This money didn't come from nowhere, because Hasan streams 8 hours a day and he makes buckets in donations, so I'm not sure why people were really that surprised, but I think having a definitive piece of evidence that showed us how rich he was not really what a lot of people were expecting to see. It wasn't a secret that he was making money, it just wasn't a topic of conversation until now. Now, all those conservatives that were once too afraid to step up to Hasan had their firepower handed to them, because this was now a story about a leftist grifter who swayed his audience with tales of socialism only to turn around and spend their money on a mansion for himself. I don't think it's that cartoonishly evil in actuality. We all knew that Hasan made bank, we just didn't really know how much. And usually in LA, houses go for a lot more than that, but taken out of context, it made this sound like a much bigger deal than it really was. I think he was well within his right to buy a nice house, and it's not a pinnacle of socialism that you can't own nicer things. If Hasan earned that money, he has a right to spend it however he wants without being labeled a Trojan horse of capitalism. It would be a totally different story if Hasan had used donation stream revenue to buy this house, or if he had completely lied about his financial standings before, but he didn't do any of that. He can raise money for organizations and advocate for the lower class, and he can have a house of his own. I don't think it needs to be any more complex than that. If Hasan can afford a place of his own and wants to invest that much into it, he should be completely free to do so. However, this news did introduce the notion that you can now use Hasan's wealth against him whenever he advocates for poorer people. It was no longer some unknown fact that Hasan was swimming in dough, and to his detractors, that brand stuck to him. Hasan's finances became a meme in his community, and people would ask him for a house of their own, they'd type "socialism is when house" in his chat, and didn't shy away from the topic. Which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do because it kept the topic fresh, it kept reminding people about it, which leads us into another example, the car. So this past week, I opened Twitter to see that Hasan's name was trending. And you ever just know before you look further into something that it's just going to make you sad and tired and you don't want to click it and learn more about it, but you do, and you just know it's going to ruin your day, because that's how I felt clicking that tab. And fuck damn, I was right. Hasan streamed himself and his friends going to a car dealership and buying a car, and this wasn't a roadside 50% off kind of dealership, this was the lavish LA sports car kind of place. Hasan left that vehicle store with a $200,000 Porsche. It's a luxury purchase beyond a doubt, and it's the kind of car you see on the road and you can just feel your wallet start to hurt. Now, when this story broke, my gut reaction was to apply the same defense I had used of his purchase of a house to this purchase of a car. But I found that harder to do. Investing your resources into a larger house makes sense, and it has a lot of benefits beyond simply looking lavish. This Porsche, however, seems to only exist as a flashy alternative to a more subtle car, one that could arguably accomplish the same goal. This purchase seemed a little less justifiable to me, so I hesitated from jumping in with an opinion. I just kind of held back and decided to wait for more news to come out. But that's when the discourse happened. Conservatives were pouncing on this story, using it to reiterate their story about Hasan using socialism to grift his fans. A lot of people used this luxury purchase to analyze Hasan's entire career and try to show why he benefits from capitalism and how his defenders are too blind to recognize it. To be fair, some people did have good and insightful ideas to consider. But because this is Twitter, those didn't receive nearly as much attention as the loud assholes. Some people were trying to make ironic or comedic approaches to it, but the replies all responded to it as if they were real arguments. It was horrible. Just a reading comprehension nightmare. Do you remember at the beginning of the video when I said that Hasan tends to react to criticism by antagonizing and getting aggressive? Well, he does that here too. If you even got mad for a second about this new car meme on the internet, I own you. I am living rent-free inside of your mind. You are predictable. Now, if you're a fan of Hasan, you can recognize that this is a very typical tweet from him, but if you are new to this situation or looking for something to use against him, this tweet does not look great. The initial responses seem to be a mess of a discourse where nobody was convincing anybody of anything, and people were just using this story to support their own varying agendas. I still don't think that Hasan buying expensive things is a direct violation of his political ideology, but a $200,000 car? You can still uphold leftist ideals while owning an expensive car. But you shouldn't be surprised when some people say that it feels weird to them. Personally, I'm not really a car guy. I don't know if you could tell that from the everything. I take the bus. I get rides from friends. I don't even have my license yet because I live in a city and I don't really have a reason to drive anywhere. Also, they're expensive and not all of us are Twitch streamers. So I don't really understand the need to buy an expensive and flashy car, but I do kind of understand the reasoning behind it. It's a status symbol, right? It's to show off that you can afford a car this expensive. I think that's why so many creators and celebrities own cars like this. It's to say I'm successful enough to own this type of car. But a $200K sports car and a beat-up Volkswagen will both get stuck in the same LA traffic and likely get somewhere at the same time, so I know it's not about speed or efficiency. The discourse around Hasan's car seems to be focused on whether or not this is a good or bad thing, or on how whether this makes Hasan a good or a bad leftist. And I think that's the main reason that drove me to make this video, because while this story is not really important, I think it's really weird that we're trying to make this about good versus bad. How did we get there? I think my stitches just came undone. The issue with trying to label this story as a good thing versus a bad thing is that you are reducing the two outcomes to be holistically positive versus negative. And I believe that this story is nestled right there in that little gray area. Where are my Shades of Grey fans at? We love morally dubious shades of grey. Anytime there's drama around online creators, a lot of people seem to want to jump to the who's right and the who's wrong. We expect the facts and details to show us which person is in the right, and if other people come to a different conclusion, we try to defend our own findings against them. And so internet discourse is born. I do think that responding to these stories with a big thumbs up or a thumbs down is kind of the easy answer when it comes to analyzing discourse. And I'm guilty of doing this sometimes too. Sometimes it's a gut reaction to be like, oh, he's right or she's wrong. But like, I think it's good to train ourselves to start looking more intently for those shades of gray. Hasan buying a car for $200,000 is not a bad thing. However, it makes sense to me why people who associated so heavily with the working class would be surprised and a little shocked by it. Instead of trying to pick a side, trying to find out who's right and fight the other side with whatever evidence you have, maybe this is one of those things where we just kind of have to come to our own conclusions and then not fight about it. The internet is here to argue. That's what happens when people with different opinions share a space online. But I do think that discourse needs to evolve a little bit from the thing good versus thing bad binary that we keep finding ourselves locked in. For example, I think that Hasan has the right to spend his money however he wants. At the same time, I think spending that much money on a beep beep mobile is truly insane and obnoxious. Like, I would never spend that much money on a car. And if you ever do catch me doing that, I've been possessed or blackmailed, and you should shoot on sight. That's too many jokes about me getting shot in one video. Don't shoot me. I wouldn't like that. I don't expect the conservatives to stop using this against Hasan because it's their strongest ammunition against him. Honestly, I do think Hasan maybe shouldn't have streamed himself getting the car because it gave them a lot of B-roll to use as evidence, but maybe that's an aside. Lastly, I do think we should talk about the one part of this discourse that is most important to me, and that would be the sworn enemy of facts: feelings. I did see a lot of tweets regarding this story that implied that it doesn't matter and it's a bad thing that people care so much about it. I do agree with that notion in the grand scheme of things because a streamer buying a car shouldn't be making news headlines, and maybe we're all overreacting a little bit to it. However, I do wholeheartedly disagree with the idea that people are not allowed to care about it. Every week on this dumb channel, I make videos talking about stories and how I formed my opinions about them. And one of the most common negative responses I get on these is, why do you even care about this? I care because it interests me, dummies. I care about it. Why does anyone care about anything? I'm a Pisces. All I can do is care about shit. Even Hasan's response seemed to imply that people who care or get mad about this are wasting their time and playing into his hands. I think it's okay to care about things. So shoot me. I think it's okay to care about things. Even nonsensical stories about streamers and cars. Not to be fake deep, but I do believe that this story is a microcosm of a much deeper and insightful issue that is worth talking about. And the people who are brushing this off as some kind of waste of energy and how we shouldn't care about it, I think are robbing themselves of coming to a personal conclusion that might even be intellectual. This story should not have gotten as big as it got, I will agree. But let's not act like nobody should have any kinds of feelings about this, because we all have feelings to everything. That's what feelings do. People expressing their thoughts and opinions on Twitter.com is not a sign of the world ending. It can be annoying sometimes, but I think we have a right to do it. So yes, feel whatever you want to feel about this story. Just control those emotions and don't lash out at people with different opinions. Make sure to address and identify those feelings that you have, because that is how we grow and become more in connect with who we are as people. For example, I feel like I have been talking about this story for too long, so let's wrap this sucker up. Okay, full disclosure, I was totally bluffing about playing the copyrighted Katy Perry music. I just paid my rent. Like, I cannot jeopardize this video's AdSense. Fucking click like, click subscribe. I don't even have Katy Perry pulled up. I just have a piano cover. Regardless of how you feel about Hasan's ideals or political stances, it's not a smart idea to try to use his purchasing of a car to take him down. Because honestly, he has the autonomy and the right to spend his money however he wants, and that's just what happened. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism, and either way, Hasan was going to get a car. I don't see why, personally, he couldn't have gotten a cheaper car to do what he wanted, but that's not really my fight to take up. Trying to define this as good or bad kind of ignores the fact that most things in life are just morally gray, and maybe this is something that just individual people need to come to their own conclusions about. You are allowed to feel emotions and have feelings when you're hearing about stories like these, and don't let some swarmy tweet try to convince you that having a response to this makes you a bad person. And finally, above all else, if you're gonna walk away with one thing from this video, please make me as rich as Hasan. Like, that's gotta be so nice. And I'm not gonna spend that money on some car. I'm gonna make smart financial decisions. I'm gonna get a channel mascot or open a line of taco trucks. Maybe get a mech suit. Thank you all for watching my video. You didn't have to watch the whole thing, but you did, and that matters to me. If you would like to support me further, you can like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little bell thing. You know the one. I owe my heart and soul to my beautiful patrons, and once again this week they have supported me and kept my channel financially supported and not financially drowning in a financial ocean. Thank you all for your generosity, and I genuinely hope you all have amazing weeks. Thank you all for everything you do. If you have any takes or opinions you'd like to share about this, you can leave them in the comments. I will be reading them because I am always online and I care what other people think. But you know my rule, be respectful. If I catch any shit starters, you will be muted from my channel and cast into the void of space. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I really do hope you take care of yourselves. And if not for you, do it for me, but also do it for you. I love you lots. Goodbye.